Welcome to Saving America. This is a video podcast, and you'll be able to see this again, and you may be watching it on YouTube, or you can get the audio on almost any of the podcast platforms. So we're very excited. This is a weekly podcast. We had the training last night, David, on podcasts, and they're like, you want to introduce by saying about how long it will be. So we'll be about 20, 25 minutes.
Welcome. Well, hi, Sandy, and welcome to Thanksgiving week. And I want to wish you and yours a happy Thanksgiving, and all the people who are watching either live today or watching one of our recorded rebroadcasts of tonight's podcast.
And very different Thanksgiving this year, of course. And that's one of the things we're going to be talking about, or you're going to be talking about. So let's start with what's in the news. And lots of stuff about COVID in the news. And we're going to focus on one aspect of the news, and that's the shutting down of schools in New York City. So what have you read about that?
You say, hey, and that's your final answer?
So this has been in the news for about a week, and I think they announced this last Wednesday or Thursday that they were going to close the schools in New York City and in New York State. And so it's pretty fascinating because especially the youngsters, the kindergartners till the 4th or 5th grade, their risk factor is extremely low. But the trade-off is the association with other children and the teachers and the structure is so extremely valuable. Many experts say that it is more important for them to be in the classroom than any conceivable risk of COVID-19. And the teachers themselves generally are fairly low risk if they observe, reasonable social distancing, wear their masks and, normal sanitation, which is pretty common across the board. So in any event, New York shuts down its schools, and there was a wonderful, the New York Post tabloid is quite a production number, and they had a wonderful cover photo last week, and they had a doctored photo where they had a picture of the face of Andrew Cuomo and the face of Bill de Blasio in little kid outfits with dunce caps on, and the caps said dunce, and the two of them side by side as the New York Post was providing its commentary on shutting down something that really hurts the children. And, one of the things to appreciate is that many middle income and wealthier families have their children in private schools. And so when the school shutdown is announced, it affects the public schools. Well, who's in the public schools? Some middle income families, very few upper income families, but all of the lower income families. And these are the people who can least afford to make arrangements to take care of their young children while they try to make a living. And making a living, especially in the lower income categories, and I'm going to revisit this today in another segment, is extremely difficult. Now, the icing on the cake, I heard this last night, the icing on the cake as the people in New York are trying to limit Thanksgiving gatherings and all this stuff, is that reportedly Mario Cuomo is flying in his 89-year-old mother to celebrate Thanksgiving dinner with him. And as someone was saying, has anybody scoped out the children that will be there, the servants that will be there? I'm sure this is going to be a catered dinner and all that stuff. And saying, what are they exposing this 89-year-old woman to? Because she is in the extreme risk category by almost any definition. So the level of hypocrisy and silliness is quite extreme, and it's most unfortunate for America. I saw a special coverage of Los Angeles earlier today, and Los Angeles has closed all restaurant dining, indoors and outdoors, all restaurant dining. And they interviewed some of the small restaurant, individual restaurant owners. They interviewed some deli people, and it's like, we just can't keep the doors open. We can't pay the rent. with just some takeout business and delivery. That's not going to pay all of our bills. And I work extensively with small business in America, and it was interesting because one of the observations, either from the reporter or from the people who had this small deli, was that the big corporations that own the big chains of restaurants, like the Darden Restaurant Group, and that's not a knock on them, but those restaurant groups have the capital resources to survive what we're talking about. The little guys don't. And I can tell you that as I drive around Houston, and I'm in the inner city, so I see a lot of the very close-in things, I'm seeing multiple vacancies in small shopping centers. And there's two pieces to that. One is there are a lot of low-income people who work in restaurants, hair cutting salons, nail parlors, a lot of little businesses are the ones that help America grow and provide starter employment for people who may work at higher wages later when they get through college or get more experience and so forth. And so it's a very difficult time, not just for the small business owners, but also for the landlords who are renting out these shopping centers. And I think that there's going to be some more pain coming from what is happening.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it just doesn't stop, does it?
No, it sure doesn't.
Well, the weakest link. Goodbye.
And so next thing is, our rumor is a maskless dinner party hosted by our friend, the governor of California, Governor Newsom. So let's talk about that rumor.
Well, part of this, the joy of this one, the joy of giving is that it was released by some of the more liberal mainstream media. I forget whether it was CNN or MSNBC, but one of those is who broke the story, and with photographs. And apparently the photographs were sub rosa, like a servant or somebody at this thing. But there was a gathering of about 20 people, well in excess of the recommended number. They were not wearing masks. And the hideously funny part of the story with the moron Gavin Newsom is that the chief lobbyist for the California Medical Association was one of the people at the dinner. And I don't know if he was hosting the dinner or simply attending the dinner, but it's like the level, like I said, the level of hypocrisy, people are drowning in it. And it's just a ludicrous situation.
Just back to them.
Okay, so that was our rumor. Now we have kind of started talking about it already, but with the COVID, and today's been a big day as far as COVID and what we're talking about. But now, what about COVID and the holidays? What are your thoughts on it and some of the things that we've seen in the news? What's going on with COVID and the holidays?
What's happening, though, is that the situation is extreme, where they're telling people, oh, you can't have more than 5 or 6 people for Thanksgiving dinner. And again, the Gavin Newsom thing, the Como thing, and all that. And one pundit said, if you have grandma over for Thanksgiving dinner, bluntly, this might be her last Thanksgiving dinner, whether she comes over there or not. And not everybody's going to get COVID, obviously. And if you just follow some basic principles, that it's probably going to be a situation that could be very, very helpful to get these people out and let them enjoy their families. And so I thought some interesting statistics. 915,000 people flew through the 2 Houston airports yesterday. That was Monday.
Oh my God.
So, and they're saying tomorrow will be a Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving is traditionally the biggest day. So they are predicting record crowds at the airport. Now, the airlines, who, by the way, on the stock market, which is at record levels, the airline stocks are all up. the airlines are saying that it's going to be a clean experience. They're going to require everyone to keep their masks on. They're sanitizing the planes. They're doing special air evacuation on the planes and things like that. And so that'll be interesting. They're saying, by the way, the airline stocks are up on the reports of the several vaccines that are out. And I heard one commentator this morning say that they may begin distributing the vaccine in as little as 2 weeks from now, which would be rather amazing. And again, we still face a lot of issues. I don't think that the potential availability of vaccine should be, I don't want people to overreact to it and go crazy, because it's going to take a while to roll out. Remember, we've got about 320, 330 million Americans, and we're talking 1 million doses. I mean, we're talking a tiny fraction, and a lot of people keep talking about herd immunity. Herd immunity is combined with the vaccine distribution. It's going to take a while to get this stuff into the community. They're saying they're going to do healthcare workers first. What's one of the concerns that we have? The hospitals around the country have suddenly filled up again. There's a real concern. And unfortunately, on holiday weekends, we have a very sad thing that happens across America, and that is holidays are a wonderful time for families to get together. They also are a sad time where people do have more automobile accidents. And unfortunately, many drunk driving incidents do arise around the holidays. So if I could appeal to everyone who sees this podcast to be especially careful over the holidays, to enjoy the holidays, spend time with your family if it makes sense, and to be careful about alcohol and driving. And we've got Uber and Lyft are all taking special precautions. You have to have a mask on to ride. The driver is going to have a mask on, things like that, sanitizing the vehicles. So I think that if you're planning to go out and drink and party, please have someone else do the driving. And I think we could make a difference, especially when the hospitals are already full with COVID patients. But while the number of deaths in total continues to increase, the rate of death against the number of cases continues to decline. So apparently I'm not sure how to explain that. I think one of the things is the most fragile in our society largely have died already. I mean, sad to say, but I think that's part of the fact of life here. And I mean, we have some lucky people who have not gotten it, who are fragile. But I think the reality is that a lot of the fragile people, because it is such a contagious disease and it is spread throughout the United States. I thought North Dakota, South Dakota, Minneapolis, there would be places in the interior of the country that would be saved. I'm hearing it's just as bad there as it is in the big cities. So my projection is that we need to continue to be careful, but that the vaccine will have a gradual impact. Most likely, it's going to take until the end of the approaching summer of 2021, before the vaccines have any significant impact. Remembering what I am hearing about it is it's going to take 1 month from getting the vaccine to having some antibodies that would actually protect you. I've asked the question, what happens during that 1 month? Will your defenses be progressive if you get COVID in the middle? Will it be less dangerous because you've had the vaccine at least starting in your system? Those questions I have not heard answered yet.
I did hear on the news this morning that there will be 2 shots or 2 injections. One, and then about 30 days later you go back for the second one, and they did say there would be some side effects, like being sick, but to me it sounded kind of like when you get the flu shot, you're going to feel bad for a day or two usually, and that's what it said. Usually it will be last about 24 hours. So it all remains to be seen as we start into this time, but at least we are starting into the time when there will be available, and we can now start to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely.
The day has been great, great information leading into the holidays. Dr. Schein is a professor and dean at the University of St. Thomas here in Houston. He is also an author, and this is his latest book, The Decline of America, 100 Years of Leadership Failure. So if you want to read about some of our other presidents and some of the things and decisions they made and the results, you can read it right here. It is available on Amazon and makes a great Christmas gift. And this weekend for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the ebook will be 99 cents if you want to get it and read it yourself. So great, great, great Christmas gift for that person in your family or your life who's interested in politics or history. So thank you for joining us, whether you're watching us live on Facebook, and we hope you will be telling people that it's live every Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock Central. We are live on Facebook, and then you can watch the recording still on David's Facebook page, which is author David Schein, and you can watch it on our YouTube channel. Then you can watch the audio on any podcast platform that is available. And we hope you'll subscribe, comment, get in touch with David if you have any questions, or if you have any topics that you'd like for him to cover on Saving America. So thank you again for joining us, David. Another great podcast. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this. And we'll see you next Tuesday for Saving America.